everyone, and welcome back again to Oma Ezigbo TV. So guys, in today's video we'll be listening to Pastor Jerry Eze share some life stories about the spiritual and life-changing experiences he had with his late mother while growing up. He also shared that his mother's fervent prayers and fasting shaped him into the mighty man of God that he is today. So guys, as you watch this video, please do well to like it, comment, share and subscribe to the channel. And with that being said, let's get right into the video.
There are people you can't even fight because the prayers over their heads are older than you. You can't even trifle with them. So there are things that are going to be happening in the lives of your children, and it will not be because the children you see, what is even working for you? This guy is not disciplined, this guy does not have sense, this guy, but whatever he touches works. Somebody is praying for them. I remember my mother reminding me when I got in, I became a people in our church then called the Prayer Warriors and all of that. So, and I got in, I became part of the Prayer Warriors. My mother was not in that Prayer Warriors department. She was not. But every night, my mother would wake me up and tell me to come for midnight prayer. I remember my mother waking me up one night. I told her I cannot pray. That today's own, I cannot pray. That I'm very tired. So I slept off. The next thing I heard was Tawai, and that sleep left me. And my mother told me that, I'm paraphrasing, I'm not saying it exactly, that who goes for war in the morning and sleeps through the night? If I say to you, for the over 15 years of my life, I don't sleep at night, just because, and NSPPD had not yet come up at the time. So when people sit back and say, oh, this is what we are doing is enjoyment, I look at them and I laugh. I am sold out for this. I wish I will even have the time. When you pray through the night and you do ministry in the morning, the puzzle, I mean, my wife will tell you, this has been our life all to the time we've been married. And then you pray, and then you do, and it's been that way. And I want to tell you, it was my mother that started this thing. He said, you cannot have war in the morning and you are sleeping in the night. She pushed me into what it means to be an intercessor. She pushed me what it means to pray and all of that. Let me say this. I'm sure in my mother's mind, she didn't know, will this stick with this child? Will he forget it at some point? Would it be? Don't call your children children. When you relate with your children, you are not speaking to their mind. You are talking to their spirit. A child can be distracted, acting distracted, and all of that. Please don't allow the distraction distract you. You are speaking to the spirit of the child. When your children are at sleep, open the scriptures, read over their lives, declare over their lives. No matter what your children are doing, speak. My mother was a master in prophetic action. And I said it at the last minute women's program where I was speaking, and I said to them, my mother would, while she is frying in the kitchen and all of that, in a local kitchen, our local kitchen, with all that fire and all of that. So when I come into the kitchen, my mother would drag a stool, those kitchen stools, in the kitchen, and told me that I should sit at the seat of the kings. That I should sit at the seat of the kings. That this thing I am sitting now, where I am sitting now, is the seat of, everything is prophecy for my mother. She prophesied over everything. Things that made sense, things that did not make sense, everything is prophetic. People of God, every mother here, you have the pictures of your children. Prophesy. If you find their clothes anywhere, prophesy. Anything that is happening, prophesy. And I don't forget, and I just remembered it. Ordinary wooden kitchen stool. My mother called it seat of the kings. Why don't you call your own child's dress of the kings? Find something, and because they cannot fail. They cannot fail. They cannot fail. If you see when your own destiny came under attack, you can imagine what your children are going through right now. And half of it, they are not telling you. Half of it, they are not telling you. And I say this because my mother taught me. And my mother will tell me, don't eat when you go to people's houses. You know that time. Don't eat when you go to people's houses. And my mother will come back and then call me and say to me, you ate. I said, I did not eat. And then, because I don't used to lie, but I will lie, I said I did not eat. So if I told my mother I did not eat, my mother should agree that I did not. My mother said to me, you ate. My mother would tell me the time I ate. My mother would tell me what I ate. And that was the one that I registered in my heart. I picked it up with my daughter. As my daughter was going to secondary school, about 3 years ago, I told her, let me remind you, I can see. Anything you do, God will tell me. And she thought it's a joke. Now there we did now. Anything going on, God will tell me. And so I remember her going back to school after her first year, and I said to her, what is that one thing you'll always remember about Daddy? He said to me, Daddy said, anything I do, God will tell you. And I remember her guardian making reference to that and all of that, that Samara will say to her and all of that, that my daddy can hear God though. I cannot do anything now, because if I do, God will tell my father. Beyond that, father, mother, can you have a relationship with God that God can tell you when your children are struggling? Can God even tell you what is about to happen in the future so that you can forestall it? It will not meet you like an emergency. Am I communicating? You know, there are things that happen in my life now. I know I pray, but there are some that will happen. I will tell myself, that's my mother's prayer. I know I pray, but there are things that will happen. When you see the way they will play out, I sit back and say, Kai, that is a broken woman's prayer. That is a broken. There was something I've always shared this with you, how my mother, I got a job with a World Bank project on HIV and AIDS. And then I had even gotten a job with the UN. And I went to show my mother, and I said to my mother, our life has changed. I said, our life has changed. My mother was the most important person to me. So I went to tell my mother, now you will live in my house with this salary. I will change everything. I was excited, telling my mom this, telling my mom that. My mom was so uninterested. I told her, why? She said, everything you are telling me is not what God told me about you. Let me tell you, parents, some things your children will celebrate, you need to pray about them and be sure that most of them will not die in it. Pray about them. Not how exciting it is means that God is there. And God, my mother told me, that's not what God told me. That's not what you should do. Hey. As in, it's not what God told you. I told my mother that we quarreled that day. I quarreled with my mother. I said, it's not what God told you. What God told you is that way. And you're telling me to go into full-time ministry. Which example do I have around me to show me that if I go into full-time ministry, nothing will happen to me? Which example? No example. Say it's not what God told. That I will serve God. I will serve God. If people understood my dialect, I would have spoken it for. She would yeah, that I should serve God. That what God is saying, I should forget everything and serve God. I should serve God. I should serve God. I should serve. So I asked my mother, I said, so if I'm serving God and I get hungry and all that, he said, if I die, I'll go to heaven. Because she too, she did not have an example of serving God, that you will be fine serving God. So she didn't have that example. All she knows is that just do the right thing, serve God, and then die and go to heaven. I told my mother, not me. And that's how I kept doing until my mother died.